Hi, this video will review how to create paychecks from timesheets in OnTarget. First, you'll want to confirm that the system is configured to create paychecks from timesheets. This setting is managed under Configure, Payroll, and Rules. Checking Import from Timesheets ensures that the source of the paycheck is timesheets rather than time records. Since the hours against approved timesheets will create the checks, one of the first steps in getting started with payroll is ensuring that all timesheets have been approved. The system will only create checks for approved timesheets. Therefore, it is important to review the state of timesheets prior to running payroll. To do so, go to Timesheets and run the Timesheet Audit report. Enter in the pay period and choose to run report. Leaving all of the filters blank, we'll run this report for all employees for each cost center that you have access to and the state of the timesheet, whether it is signed or approved. If the timesheet is signed but not yet approved, the employee's supervisor or anyone with timesheet superuser mode will need to review and approve the timesheet. If the timesheet has not yet been signed, then the staff will need to sign their own timesheet, or in the event that they cannot sign, their supervisor or a timesheet superuser may do so for them. Once you have confirmed that all timesheets you wish to create paychecks for are in an approved state, then you are ready to process payroll. The first step is in Time Records. You'll want to click on Calculation Options. Here, you are setting your check date for the payroll and selecting your pay period. You'll see a list of your deductions. Any deduction that is checked will be withheld from the employee's paychecks as long as the employee record has a deduction set up to be withheld. These deductions can be unchecked in the event that you need to create a paycheck but do not want a deduction withheld for the particular payroll run. Say, for example, you have a correction check to cut for an employee and their health insurance has already been withheld for the pay period. For the correction check, you do not need to withhold again, so this would be an easy way of creating the check without taking the deduction. Keep in mind that if a deduction needs to be discontinued altogether for an employee, then it should be inactivated at the employee record. Click Save once you have completed this form. Next, go to the Employee Timesheet button. Since timesheets are the source of the payroll data, this is where the paychecks will be created. The pay period will populate from the Calculation Options settings. To get a glimpse into the hours that will create paychecks, you can run this report either for a particular cost center or an employee, or to run for all cost centers and all employees, simply leave the filters blank. Running the report for approved and signed timesheets allows you to understand the hours about to import into payroll. In the standard version of the report, you'll see total hours per pay type for the specified pay period, along with their respective rates and the grand total of the hours. An important feature of this report is that it will alert you to hours that will not transfer over to a paycheck due to missing pay types. The system will force that a pay type is set up to support each service and cost center the employee worked. This is a great benefit as it ensures that your billing revenue for cost center and service matches to the payroll wages. Any errors will be listed at the very bottom of the report, as in this case. Here, Daniel Lewis provided the in-home skill building service in the Asheville Cost Center, and therefore a pay type needs to be set up in his record. In the Pay Types tab. You'll notice that there is already a pay type for Asheville, but that is linked to the client Martha Stewart and the CSA service. We need to also add a pay type that is linking the in-home skill building service to the Asheville Cost Center. Setting this pay type up will now allow the hours to produce on this report. So if we run the report again, we should see the hours reported. And we have cleared up the errors for this report. This is a very important first step so that your process of creating the paychecks is clean. All pay types are set up prior to processing payroll. The same report can be run in an unformatted version if the data needs to be dumped to Excel for filtering. The report can also be run in a daily summary format in order to get a breakdown of the hours per day. The unformatted daily summary, again, just allows you to dump the data into Excel for easy filtering. Prior to creating paychecks, you may want to do one final sweep of any unapproved timesheet to ensure that all employees within the pay period who have timesheets out there will be paid. When you have determined that all timesheet data is in place and you're ready to move to the next step, you'll click the Create Paychecks button. Leaving Cost Center and Employee fields blank will create paychecks for all cost centers and all employees. Use those filters as needed to create paychecks individually by cost center or individually by employee. Any errors in creating paychecks will be presented. These errors can always be exported to be printed out or to be exported for further review. In Clara Barton's case, a negative check has been created. This typically means the amount of the deductions to be withheld are greater than the gross wages of the check. To verify, go to the employee record and review the deductions. In Ryan Miller's case, one or more of his pay types have a $0 rate. Again, this would be managed back at Employees. And rates are managed in the Pay Types tab. And in the case of George Washington, the employment date is not set. This would also be handled back in the employee record. All errors must be cleaned up before the check for the individual can be created. Any individual who did not show up on this report did in fact have a paycheck created. As you clean the errors up, you can click the Create Paychecks button again to process the information. Once all of the paychecks have been created and the errors cleaned up, then it's time to review the paychecks. To do so, go to Paychecks. You can search for paychecks using any combination of the filter options. To review all paychecks created for the check date, enter in the check date or maybe select the pay period. To review the details of a check, click Edit Paycheck. You will see the pay transactions details for each pay type and the pay stub below to review the gross, deduction, and net totals. If there are any additional ways to pay the employee, you can directly key in the units against the corresponding pay type. It is important to note that units cannot be adjusted for any time that was imported from a timesheet. In this case, the 40 hours or 20 hours that imported from the timesheet may not be edited since the caregiver signed off on the hours and a supervisor approved them. The only thing that can be adjusted is the rate. Once all edits have been made, click Save and Calculate to create a new paycheck. A new stub is generated to review the details. Continue reviewing checks as needed. An important function to know about is the Reduce Salary function. This function allows you to correctly allocate the billable hours a salaried employee worked per service and cost center and to still only pay them their salaried rate. Another way this is helpful is to track paid time off for salaried employees. To perform this function, ensure that the unit of 1 is entered against the salaried pay type. For the hourly pay types, where units have been entered, check the Reduce Salary box. This enables a Reduce Salary button. When clicking that, the salary rate will be adjusted so that this amount combined with this amount will still pay the staff their salaried rate. Be sure to click Save and Calculate to generate the new check. Another way to collectively review the checks is to use the Check Review Report. The Check Review from All option will give you the details for each employee along with a grand total summary page. You may also check individual employees to review instead of reviewing all checks. The Check Review Summary from All gives you just the one-page summary. There is no individual detail in the report, rather just grand totals from either all checks or the ones individually selected. And lastly, the Check Review Unformatted gives you grand totals per pay type per cost center. This allows you to understand regular and overtime hours in a meaningful way. When you are ready to generate the checks, you will use the Print Checks button. If you have a combination of direct deposit and paychecks, it may be helpful to use the disbursement filter. Selecting Paycheck will allow you to print checks separately than creating the ACH file for direct deposit. This will potentially save you paper so that you don't print out the direct deposit stubs along with the checks. Again, your printing option is to print from all or to print the selected checks you have chosen. You will receive a posting report that details how the paychecks were distributed in the general ledger, and then you will also receive a PDF with your checks to be printed out. Once these paychecks have been printed, the staff will see their stubs on the dashboard in the Paychecks dashlet. Should you have any questions about this process, please contact support by going to Options, Support, and Contact Support.